Okay, so welcome back. In this video, which I think is probably the last video in this Developing a C# Calculator series, we're going to finish up some of the function buttons on this calculator and do the programming. Again, it's fairly straightforward. Now, in the first video, we developed the code we would need to, for example, take this equation entered by the user, parse it into values and operators, and then step through those values and operators to figure out the final answer. And we took all of that code and put it into the equals key event handler so that when you press the equal key, you get the answer. And then in part 2, we developed the actual UI that you see here, which is fairly straightforward. Now, in this video, we're going to finish up these keys on the top, which I call the function keys. We've got most of these all done, and they're very simple and straightforward event handlers. So, for example, if I clear this, if I hit a 2 key, it basically will append a numeric 2 to the text box. And if I hit a 3, it doesn't append text and that kind of thing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at these function keys. Now, I've made a couple small changes from the previous video. I've taken these top 2 keys and changed them, changed their functionality. This was a % key, and this next to it was a clear entry key. So I changed it to a pi, where you just click it and it enters pi into the text box. And then this answer key, which we'll talk about in a bit. I've also got a clear key, which basically clears all the text in the text box. And I've got a delete last entry, so 36 plus 3. And you decide, no, I want a 36 plus 2. You hit this and it deletes that, and you can enter 2, and you get the answer. This is 1 over x, so 1 over x is 0.2, or 5x squared is 25, and similarly 5 square root is 2.23. So we're going to show how to code these. Again, they're fairly straightforward. Now this answer key is, let me give you an example. Let's say I've got 36 times 9 plus 25.3, and I get 349.3. Now let's say I want to do another operation on this answer. Well, I hit the answer key, and it grabs that answer, erases the screen, and puts it here ready to be operated on. So then I can do x squared, and I'm all set. Now, I haven't done anything with this plus minus key. That's the only key that still hasn't been done. I'll leave that to you if you're interested to figure out the code for that. So now let's take a look at what's required to program these function keys. So now here is my main application, my Form 1, and I've got 2 regions here. I've got the first region is basically the event handlers for all the numbers and the operators. And like we said, really all those do, for example, if you hit the number 1, it just appends a 1 to the text box. And same for all these other numbers and divided by and times and minus and plus. So if we take a look at the button 2, basically it's just text box 1.append text, and it puts a 2 in there. So this region is all done. It's basically the number and operator button event handlers. And what we're going to focus on here is these remaining, what I call function buttons. Now, what I've done is I've added a class to this, application. You recall last time I had my main form, and I also had a string helper class that does all the, removes the spaces and separates and that kind of thing. I added one more very, very simple class, which is called calculator memory or calc memory. And at this point, all it does is it stores the intermediate answer. As you press equal and get an answer, it stores it here in a public static double field. So it's always available to your program, you can always grab this calc answer to find out what the last answer was. Okay. Now you can add to this. You can add history to the memory, whatever you want. But right now it's a very simple. It just stores the answer to the previous calculation. So what we've got here is we've got our event handlers for the function buttons. The percent, what used to be the percent button, is now the pi button. And let's run this and so you recall. So here's the pi button. And again, all it does is it uses textbox1.append text and uses the math.pi function or constant and does a toString and sends that to the screen. So that's all that does. The clear button basically puts the text of the text box as an empty. Okay, so nothing. And then the equals, we already did that in the previous videos. This does all the work to parse the string and figure out the operators, plus, minus, divide, and multiply. Now, inverse is this. So let's say I say 5, 1 over x, that's the inverse. So the way I do that is I grab the text, the 5 in this case, from the text box, and I trim all the spaces like we did in the other ones, remove all spaces. And then I take that trimmed string, which just includes a 5, converts that to a double, and does 1 over that to invert it, and gives you the calc answer. And again, that gets stored in that static field of the calc memory class, so it's available. And then I just textbox1 append text and do a couple new lines and say, here's the answer that I grabbed from the calc memory. Okay? Pretty straightforward. And you basically do that same thing for the rest of these functions. For the square function, so if I say 5x squared, I grab the string, I trim it, I convert it to double, and then to raise it to a power of 2, I do math.power, use that calc answer, and then square it, and then put that into the text box. And same thing with square root. Doing the exact same thing, but I use the math.square root and put that into the text box. And clear last entry. What I've done here is I have converted what used to be a clear last entry to the answer button. All right, so as we said before, I'll clear this 89 plus 6 equals, and then if I want to grab that answer and operate on it, like do a 1 over x, the way I do that is very simple. When I click that button, it basically clears the text box and grabs the previous answer that's stored in this calc memory, calc answer, and converts it to a string and appends it to the text box. So really nothing magical. It just grabs the thing and we take that and put it into the text box. So really straightforward. And then the last one is the delete key. So the way this works is, for example, I want to delete the last number here. I hit delete, 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 delete. And that's very simple, one line. I use the text, the string.remove method. Remove everything that comprises the last position. So if it's a length of 10, remove everything that's up to 9. So anyway, I think that's about it. That's the basic functionality. You can expand on that as much as you want. You can add memory, you can add additional functions, you can add tabs to this and go into complex numbers, whatever you want. But anyway, I hope that helps. Take care and have a really good day. Thanks.